In the bustling heart of Lagos stood one of West Africa's most admired corporations, Bright Tech Industries. Known across the continent for its clean energy innovations and smart home devices, the company's towering glass building gleamed in the sun, its polished floors echoing with the steps of hundreds of uniformed staff. But behind the glittering gates and glowing signboards, a powerful secret lived. Only one man truly knew the mystery: the real owner of Bright Tech, Chike Obi. At just 33, he was counted among Nigeria's youngest billionaires. Yet, curiously, no one had ever seen his face in the media. He gave no interviews, shared no photos, and moved through life like a shadow. Why? Because Chike had grown tired of deception. Every woman he met seemed drawn to his wealth, his cars, his lifestyle, never to his heart. He had been lied to, used, and humiliated by people who pretended to love him, only to chase his fortune. So, one evening, sitting across from his trusted friend and personal assistant Colonel Adeyemi, Chike revealed a daring plan. "I'm done living as a billionaire in the spotlight," Chike said quietly. "I want to know who will love me for me, not for what I own. So, I'll disguise myself as a cleaner in my own company." Colonel's eyes widened. "Boss, are you serious? You'll be scrubbing floors and washing toilets." Chike smiled calmly. "Exactly. If a woman can love me at my lowest, then she'll deserve me at my highest." The next morning, the plan began. Chike shaved his fine haircut to a simple low cut, dressed in faded, oversized clothes, worn rubber slippers, and an old cap. To hide his features, he dusted his face with powder, roughened his voice, and carried himself like an older man. From that moment, Chike Obi the billionaire vanished. In his place stood John, the new cleaner of Bright Tech Industries. Chike, now disguised as John the Cleaner, approached the staff gate of Bright Tech Industries with quiet confidence. At the security post, one of the guards eyed him suspiciously. "Yes. Who are you looking for?" the guard asked. "I'm the new cleaner," Chike replied, his voice now deeper and rougher than usual. The guard checked the ID card in his hand and then waved him through. "Go inside. First hallway on your left. Report to the janitorial supervisor." Chike gave a small nod and walked through the gates. Inside, the hallways buzzed with activity. Employees hurried from one department to another, their eyes fixed on their tasks. Some glanced at him briefly, most ignored him, and not a single person smiled. To them, he was invisible. When he reached the janitorial office, he knocked gently and stepped in. Behind the desk sat a middle-aged woman with a stern face. Her badge read, "Mrs. Grace, janitorial lead." "You the new cleaner?" she asked without warmth. "Yes, Ma. My name is John," Chike answered, bowing his head slightly. Mrs. Grace barely looked at him. "Your duty area is the ground floor, hallways, lobby, and toilets. Cleaning tools are in the supply room. Get started immediately." "Yes, Ma," he replied. Chike picked up a mop, gloves, a broom, and bottles of cleaning liquid. His first day of work began. The tasks were unpleasant, scrubbing toilets, wiping dusty floors, bending down to polish surfaces. His back ached, his hands stung, but he never complained. Day after day, he returned early in the morning, working quietly while observing the world around him. Most staff treated him as though he didn't exist. A few were polite, though distant. Others were cold, arrogant, and dismissive. Chike learned quickly how differently people behaved toward those they believed to be beneath them. But then, something unexpected happened. One afternoon in the staff cafeteria, while Chike was mopping a corner, he noticed a young woman sitting alone. Her shoes were worn, her handbag strap repaired with thread, and she ate simple plain rice from a small container. Yet, despite her own struggles, she smiled warmly at an older cleaner nearby and offered him her water. That simple act caught Chike's attention. Her name was Amara Nwosu, a junior assistant in the IT department. She was known to be quiet, hardworking, and respectful, a woman who avoided gossip and minded her business. As Chike passed by her table, she looked up and smiled. "Good afternoon, sir," she said softly. He stopped, surprised. "You're talking to me?" "Yes," Amara replied gently. "I see you working here every day. You work really hard." For the first time since his disguise began, Chike's heart warmed. "Thank you," he said quietly. That's very kind of you. She nodded with a smile. May God bless the work of your hands. Amen, Chaik replied, his chest tightening with emotion. And may he bless yours too. That short, genuine moment stayed in his heart all day. For the first time since starting his undercover journey, someone had seen him as a person, not just a cleaner. Later that evening, after his shift, Chaik sat in his small, plain apartment, replaying Amara's smile in his mind. The respect in her words lingered. For so long, people had treated him like furniture, walking past without a glance. But this young woman had spoken to him with dignity, something his billions had never truly earned. His assistant, Colonel Adeyemi, arrived carrying food and his usual cheerful grin. How was your shift today? Colonel asked, settling down. Chaik smiled faintly. Tough, as always. But something happened. Colonel raised an eyebrow. Oh, tell me. I met someone, Chaik said slowly. Her name is Amara. She smiled at me, spoke to me with respect. She even wished me blessings. Colonel, do you think she's genuine? Colonel leaned back, curious. You think she's different? Chaik nodded. I don't know yet, but I want to find out. If she is, then her life will never be the same. The next morning, Chaik reported for work as usual, broom and mop in hand. But this time, he watched the IT department more closely. He wanted to understand Amara beyond that single encounter. By mid-morning, he saw her pass through the hallway, chatting softly with a colleague. She didn't notice him, but he noticed everything about her. Her steps were gentle, her tone calm. She didn't try to impress anyone. She carried herself like someone who had known hardship, but had learned to stay strong through it. At lunchtime, he found her again in the cafeteria. She sat at her usual corner with food brought from home, plain jollof rice in a neat container. He watched as one of the office messengers walked by, clearly exhausted and sweaty. Without hesitation, Amara called him over and handed him half of her meal. Take it, she said softly. I have enough. Chaik's chest tightened as he watched. It confirmed what he had sensed the day before. She was different. When his work ended that evening, Chaik signed out at the janitorial office. But instead of going home immediately, he lingered outside. He saw Amara leaving too. Unlike others, she didn't take a car or a bike. She walked. Chaik followed from a safe distance, careful not to be noticed. Her walk was steady and unhurried. After about 20 minutes, she reached a quiet street lined with old but tidy apartment blocks. She entered one, modest, two-story, and weathered. From across the road, Chaik whispered to himself, so this is where she lives. She walks all this way every day, without complaint. He stood there for a while, lost in thought. Amara wasn't pretending. She wasn't putting on a show. She was humble, genuine, and real. That night, when Colonel came by again, Chaik shared what he had discovered. I followed her home, Chaik confessed. Colonel's eyes widened. You what? From a distance, Chaik explained. She lives in a small apartment block, walks all the way to work. No complaints. And today, she even gave half of her lunch away. Colonel whistled softly. Wow, that's rare. Chaik leaned forward, his voice steady. I'm going to do something for her, but quietly. She must never suspect. Colonel studied him. What do you have in mind? Chaik's face softened. First, make sure she never goes to bed hungry again. Find out who her landlord is. Pay 6 months of her rent, anonymously. Colonel nodded slowly. Consider it done. Chaik smiled faintly. And find out what she studied. I want to know why someone so hardworking is still stuck at junior level in IT. The next morning, Amara Nwosu stepped out of her apartment to find her landlord waiting by the entrance with an unusual smile. Good morning, sir, she greeted politely. Ah, Amara, good morning, my dear. I was just about to call you, the landlord said, his grin wide. She frowned slightly. Is everything all right? Perfect, he replied. Someone just paid 6 months of your rent in full. Amara froze. 6 months? Who did? The landlord shrugged. He didn't leave a name. Said it was anonymous. Just told me to let you know the debt is cleared until next year. For a few seconds, Amara stood speechless. Her eyes widened, tears slowly filling them. Are you sure? I counted the money myself, the landlord assured her. Be grateful to your God. Someone out there is watching over you. Amara nodded, her voice breaking. Yes, thank you, God. She walked to work that day with a lighter heart than she had felt in months. The burden of rent gone. Yet one question troubled her. Who paid it and why? At Bright Tech, she went about her duties as usual. But during her break, she found herself in the back hallway where she often saw John the cleaner. He was there as always, mop in hand. "Good morning, sir," she said with a warm smile. "Good morning," Chike replied, feigning innocence. "You won't believe what happened today," Amara said, her eyes bright with emotion. "What is it?" he asked, pretending not to know. "My rent was paid, 6 full months. No name, no explanation. The landlord just said it was anonymous." Chike widened his eyes, acting surprised. "Wow, that's amazing. God truly works in mysterious ways." She nodded, tears threatening to fall. "I just wish I could hug the person who did it, just to say thank you." Chike gave a gentle smile. "I'm sure they already know how thankful you are. And maybe one day, you'll meet them." She chuckled softly. "Maybe." Then she looked at him and added, "You know, you're different too. Most people in this company don't treat cleaners like people. But you always greet back. You always listen." Chike shrugged lightly. "It costs nothing to be kind." "That's true," she said, smiling warmly before her phone buzzed and she excused herself. As she walked away, Chike stood in silence, whispering under his breath, "Amara, you have no idea." From that day forward, Chike's mornings felt brighter. He still carried his mop and broom, still scrubbed toilets and polished floors, but his heart had a new focus. Amara became the highlight of his day. No matter how worn her shoes were, no matter how small her lunch looked, her kindness was priceless. And with each passing moment, Chike's admiration for her grew stronger. One hot afternoon, after hours of scrubbing hallways and toilets, Chike sat quietly in a corner of the staff cafeteria. His shirt clung to him with sweat, and his face looked weary. He picked up a rag and wiped his forehead, sighing softly. Just then Amara walked in. As usual, she carried her small food container and her bottle of water. She spotted Chike sitting alone and hesitated for a moment. Then, with quiet steps, she approached. "You haven't eaten, have you?" she asked gently. Chike looked up, startled. "Not yet." Without another word, Amara sat down, opened her small container, and pushed it toward him. "Please eat. I already had something earlier." Chike blinked in shock. "No, I can't take your food." "Please," she insisted with a warm smile. "I don't have much, but I can share." His heart swelled. For a moment, he simply stared at her, overwhelmed by her sincerity. Slowly, he picked up the spoon. "Thank you, Amara. You don't know what this means to me." She nodded, sitting quietly beside him as he ate. After a few minutes, she said softly, "I see the way people treat you. They don't greet you. They don't even notice you. But you work harder than anyone else, and you never complain." Chike paused mid-bite, his eyes softening. "You're the only one who sees me." Amara gave a small smile. "I see more than people think." For a long while, they sat in peaceful silence, their simple bond growing stronger. But not everyone shared Amara's kindness. The company's general manager, Tun Baligan, was a proud and boastful man. Dressed in fine suits and carrying expensive phones, he strutted around Bright Tech like a king. Many feared him, while some women admired him for his influence. Amara, however, always kept her distance. That only fueled Tun's curiosity. One day, he summoned her to his office. "You're a beautiful woman, Amara," he began with a smirk. "Thank you, sir," she replied carefully, unsure where the conversation was going. "I've been watching you," Tun said, leaning back in his chair. "You're not like the others. You don't beg, you don't gossip, and you don't throw yourself at men. That's rare." Amara remained silent. Tun leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I can give you a better life. I run this company. All those cars outside, all the money flowing here. I control it all. If you stay close to me, your life will change. Higher salary, better clothes, comfort. You won't have to suffer again." Amara met his gaze steadily. "Thank you, sir, but I'm not interested." Tun frowned. "You think I'm lying? You don't believe I can take care of you." "It's not about belief," she said calmly. "I just don't want that kind of life." He let out a cold laugh. "So, you'd rather walk to work in old shoes, eating plain food, than have comfort at your feet?" Amara stood tall. "It's better than pretending to love someone for their money." With that, she turned and walked out, leaving Tun stunned and humiliated. From that day, his admiration turned to resentment. He began giving her extra work, speaking to her harshly, and embarrassing her in meetings. But Amara held her ground, wearing her dignity like a crown. And from the shadows, Chaik saw it all. The tension in Bright Tech grew thicker each day. Chaik noticed the way Tun Baligan looked at Amara with dark eyes, the way she left his office holding her dignity but carrying the weight of silent battles. One afternoon, while Amara sat in a quiet hallway, Chaik approached gently. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft. She gave a tired smile. "Yes, I'm fine." "You look exhausted," he pressed. Amara shook her head. "It's just been a long day." Chaik hesitated. "I saw you give away your food yesterday." "You didn't have to." "I know," she replied, her tone steady. "But I wanted to. Giving reminds me that I still have something to offer, even when life is hard." Chaik looked at her with admiration. "You have more to offer than you know." She chuckled lightly. "You sound like someone who knows me better than I know myself." "Maybe I do," he said, his eyes lingering. Amara studied him for a moment before asking, "What about you? Who are you really?" Chaik smiled faintly. "Just a cleaner for now." She nodded slowly. "Well, you're a very special cleaner." Her words sank deep into him, but before he could reply, she returned to her desk. Chaik stood still, whispering under his breath, "And you're not just special, you're rare." Days later, trouble escalated. Amara was at her desk, finishing reports, when Tun strolled in, holding a brand-new smartphone still in its box. He placed it on her desk with a sly smile. "I noticed you've been using that old phone for too long," he said smoothly. "Take this. It's yours. Be mine, Amara." Her heart skipped. She glanced at the phone, then at him. "Sir, no, thank you." "Why not?" Tund asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's not about the phone," she replied firmly. "I just can't give you what you want. Please, look for someone else." His smile vanished. His eyes hardened. "Do you know how lucky you are that I'm even talking to you? You poor thing. You'll regret this. I'll make sure you lose this job." He grabbed the phone and stormed out, leaving Amara trembling. She wasn't afraid of losing wealth. She was afraid of losing the only job she had worked so hard to earn. Moments later, she walked quietly to the janitor's area, her eyes clouded. She found Chaik mopping near the back hallway. "Amara, what's wrong?" he asked immediately, seeing her face. I can't do this anymore," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I just want peace." Chaik dropped the mop. "Talk to me." She took a deep breath and explained everything. How Tun tried to bribe her with a phone, how he called her baby, and how he threatened to fire her. Chaik's fists clenched. His chest burned with fury. "He did what?" Amara placed a hand on his arm. "Please don't go to him. He's the manager. He can ruin everything. I don't want you to get in trouble." But Chaik had heard enough. Without another word, he marched out of the hallway. "Chaik, wait." Amara called after him, but he was already striding toward Tun's office. He knocked once and pushed the door open before Tun could respond. Tun looked up, startled. "You? What are you doing here?" Chaik's voice was firm. "Stay away from Amara." "Excuse me," Tun said, narrowing his eyes. "I said stay away from her. Keep your filthy hands and your lies far from her." Tund rose from his chair, shocked. "Do you know who you're talking to?" "I'm a manager of this company." Chaik's gaze never wavered. "And I know exactly who you are, a coward who preys on innocent women. You think threats and cheap gifts can buy a woman's dignity? Not while I'm here." Tun's face turned red with rage. "You must be insane. You're just a cleaner in slippers. By tomorrow morning, you'll be out of this company. I'll call the owner myself and make sure you're gone." Chaik smiled coldly. "You could do nothing. But listen carefully. If I ever see you near Amara again, you'll wish you were never born." For the first time, Tun stepped back, unsettled by the confidence in Chaik's voice. For a man dressed like a cleaner, he carried himself with strange authority. "Who exactly are you?" Tun asked, confused. Chaik said nothing. He simply turned and walked out, leaving Tun frozen, angry, and filled with questions. Amara waited nervously in the hallway, her heart pounding. When she saw Chaik return from Tun's office, she rushed toward him. "What happened? Did he do anything to you?" she asked quickly. Chaik looked at her gently. "No, but I did something. I told him to leave you alone." And trust me, he will. Amara's eyes filled with fear. Chike, what if he really gets you fired? He's the manager. He has power. Chike smiled softly, his voice calm. Let him try. He'll be the one leaving, not me. There was something in his eyes, something bigger than what she saw on the outside. It felt powerful, hidden, and unshakable. But Amara didn't press further. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you. And I'll always protect you," Chike replied firmly. "No matter what it takes." That evening, Amara returned to her small apartment. But when she reached her door, she froze. On the floor in front of it lay a small bouquet of flowers and a brand new phone wrapped neatly with a red ribbon. Beneath the ribbon was a letter. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. On the front, in neat handwriting, were the words, "From me to you, your secret admirer." Amara's eyes darted left and right, but the corridor was empty. She hurried inside, locking the door behind her. Her heart beat wildly as she placed the items on the table. Who would do this? And why? She whispered. That night, she barely slept. Her mind kept circling around the mysterious gift. She had never been the type to receive surprises, never one to attract such attention. The thought of being watched made her uneasy. The next day at work, Amara went straight to the back hallway during her break. As expected, Chike was there, mop in hand. "Chike," she called softly. He looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Amara." She stepped closer, her expression troubled. "Something strange happened last night." His smile faded. "What is it?" "When I got home, I found flowers and a phone at my door. With a letter. It said, 'From me to you, your secret admirer.'" Chike widened his eyes, feigning surprise. "Really?" "Yes," she nodded quickly. "I'm scared. I don't know who's watching me. I want to report it to the police." Chike put the mop aside and stepped closer. "No, Amara. Don't go to the police yet. Maybe it's not dangerous. Maybe it's just someone who admires you quietly, afraid to speak." "I don't want it," she said firmly. "I'll throw the flowers and phone away." "No," Chike said quickly. "Don't throw them away." "Then you take them," she insisted. "Give the phone to someone else who needs it." Chike shook his head, smiling faintly. "It's not for me, Amara. It's for you. Just keep it. And if it happens again, we'll go to the police together. I promise I'll go with you." She looked at him with soft, searching eyes. "You'll come with me?" "Always," Chike said gently. Her shoulders relaxed. She even let out a small laugh. "This is strange. I've never received gifts like this before." Chike chuckled. "You women are lucky. People buy you gifts out of nowhere, flowers, phones, surprises." Amara laughed lightly. "Not all women. I'm not used to this kind of thing." "Well," Chike teased, "enjoy it while it lasts. Some of us men are still waiting for someone to buy us groundnuts." They both laughed, and for the first time since the gift appeared, Amara felt a little peace. Later that afternoon, while Amara was arranging files at her desk, she received a message from the receptionist. "Please report to the manager's office immediately." Her heart skipped. She didn't know whether to expect good news or another confrontation with Tun Baligan. Taking a deep breath, she walked slowly toward his office. "Come in," Tun said as she knocked. She stepped inside cautiously. He leaned back in his chair, wearing a strange smile. "Congratulations, Amara," he said smoothly. She blinked in confusion. "Sir, you've been promoted," he announced, tapping her file. Amara's eyes widened. "Promoted? Me?" "Yes," Tun continued. "You're now a senior technical assistant. You'll get a bigger office, a better salary, and," he paused for effect, "an official apartment and a car." Her jaw dropped. "Wait, is this a joke?" Tun chuckled. "No, it's real. The boss called me this morning and gave the order himself. He said to process everything immediately." Amara's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Oh my God, thank you, sir. Thank you so much." She rushed out of the office, her face glowing with excitement. The moment the door closed, Tun's smile disappeared. He slammed his fist on the table. "Who is this boss?" he growled. "How can he just promote someone like that without asking me first?" He paced angrily. "This Amara, something is going on. She must be sleeping with him. The same thing she refused me. She's giving him in secret. That's why she's being lifted so quickly." His jaw tightened with envy and rage. "If she doesn't give herself to me willingly, I'll take her by force. She thinks she's smart. I'll show her I'm smarter." Meanwhile, Amara ran straight to the back hallway, eager to share the news. She found Chike wiping down the glass doors. "Chike," she called, her voice bubbling with joy. He turned, startled by her excitement. "Amara, you look like someone who just won the lottery." She laughed. "Guess what happened?" "What?" he asked. "I just got promoted," she exclaimed. "Senior technical assistant, Chike. I'm getting an apartment and even an official car. Can you believe it?" Chike's eyes lit up, a wide smile spreading across his face. "That's amazing, Amara. I'm so happy for you." "I still can't believe it myself," she said, grabbing his hand for a second. "I've worked so hard, and for once, life is smiling at me." Chike looked at her warmly. "You deserve every bit of it and more." Amara smiled, her heart glowing. "Now that I've been promoted, get ready. I'm going to spoil you, my friend." Chike burst into laughter. "Thank you, my best friend. I can't wait to eat your money." Their laughter echoed through the quiet hallway, pure and genuine. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when Amara invited Chike to her new apartment. The place was neat, peaceful, and beautifully furnished, a huge step up from the small block she used to live in. When Chike stepped inside, he paused at the doorway, looking around slowly. "Wow," he said softly. "This place is beautiful." Amara smiled with pride. "Thank you. I'm still settling in, but I'm grateful." Chike nodded, taking a seat. On the outside, he looked calm, but deep inside, his heart was pounding. He had been holding something in for days, and now he knew the moment had come. They talked casually for a while, about work, childhood stories, and random jokes. But eventually, Chike sat up straighter, his hands tightening slightly on his knees. "Amara," he began, his voice gentler than usual, "please don't be upset with me. I need to tell you something important." She tilted her head curiously. "Okay, what is it?" He looked into her eyes, steady and unflinching. "I like you." "No, I love you." Amara blinked, her lips parting in surprise. "You love me?" Chike nodded firmly. "Yes. I felt this way for a while, but I didn't want to rush you or make things awkward. I watched your kindness, your strength, your dignity. It's not about your promotion, the apartment, or the car. It's about your heart. That's what I fell for." For a long moment, Amara stared at her hands. Silence filled the room. Then she spoke softly. "Chike, I wasn't expecting that. You're my friend, and I care about you. But I don't know if what I feel is love yet. I need time." Chike nodded, his expression calm, but his chest aching. "I understand. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." Amara gave a weak smile. "Thank you for being honest." They spent the rest of the evening talking like old friends, but something had shifted. Amara's heart was now filled with questions she hadn't prepared for. By Monday morning, she returned to work, her mind restless. All weekend, Chike's words replayed in her head. "I love you." She liked him. She truly did. He was different from anyone she had met. But love? She wasn't sure. At lunch, she sat with Ifeoma Okeke, a colleague from HR. They weren't close, but they spoke now and then. "You've been quiet all morning," Ifeoma said, raising an eyebrow. "What's going on?" Amara hesitated, then leaned closer. "A friend of mine told me he loves me." Ifeoma's eyes lit up. "Really? Who?" "Chike," Amara whispered. "The cleaner." Ifeoma nearly dropped her spoon. Amara nodded slowly. Ifeoma leaned back, shaking her head. "Amara, you need to be careful. Think about it. You just got promoted, moved into a nice apartment, got a car, and suddenly he finds the courage to say he loves you? Why now?" Amara frowned slightly, uncomfortable with her tone. "If he really loved you, why didn't he say anything before? When you were struggling? When you were eating plain rice and walking to work?" "No, my dear. This man is smart. He waited until you had something, then spoke up. He's a gold digger." The word struck Amara's heart like a blade. "He sees your success," Ifeoma continued, "and he wants to enjoy it. Don't be fooled." Amara lowered her gaze, her chest tightening. That afternoon, she walked past Chike in the hallway. She smiled faintly, but it wasn't the same. Her eyes avoided his. Her warmth seemed distant. Chike stood frozen, mop in hand. Something was wrong, and he could feel it in her silence. That evening, Chike sat alone in his small apartment, his thoughts heavy. He replayed the way Amara had walked past him, the faint smile that didn't reach her eyes, Something had shifted, something he couldn't explain. Did I rush things? He wondered. Did I ruin our friendship? Or did someone poison her mind? Meanwhile, Amara lay in her new apartment, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, but inside her, a storm raged. She missed Chaik's calmness, his presence, his warmth. Yet Ifeoma's words echoed like a drumbeat. He's a gold digger. He waited until you had everything before he spoke. Amara shook her head. But he never asked me for anything, she whispered to herself. He never touched the phone or flowers I gave him. He still works like before. But the doubt refused to leave. A few days later, in the cafeteria, Amara sat alone, her eyes wandering to the far corner where Chaik was cleaning as usual. He looked tired, sweat dripping down his face, yet he worked steadily with the same dedication as always. She wanted to talk to him, to clear her heart. She even stood up to approach him. But at that moment, Tun Balagan strolled into the room, his cologne filling the air. He ignored Chaik completely and walked straight to Amara's table. "Good afternoon, Madam Promotion," Tun said with a sly smirk. "Good afternoon, sir," she replied coldly. He pulled out a chair and sat without invitation. "I hope you're enjoying your new apartment." "I am, thank you." "And the car?" he asked. "Yes, sir." Tun leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You know, Amara, I misjudged you. I see now you're not like the others. Clearly, you're smart. The boss must like you, or else you wouldn't rise so fast." Amara raised her head slowly. "Excuse me. I'm just saying," Tun continued, smiling darkly. "Some women are wise. They know how to rise by choosing the right man. I respect that. But if things don't work out with him, remember, I'm still here." Amara's chair scraped against the floor as she stood abruptly. "I'm not interested, sir. Please respect yourself." Tun sneered, standing too. "So, you'd rather chase the cleaner? That's fine. But don't forget where you are. This company has rules. Watch your steps, Amara." She stormed out, her heart pounding, furious at his arrogance. Moments later, she found Chaik in the hallway, putting away his mop. "Chaik," she said softly. He turned quickly, surprised. "Amara, I'm sorry," she whispered. "I've been distant. Can we talk after work? I need to clear my heart." Chaik's face softened. "Yes, anytime." That evening, they met at a quiet cafe not far from the office. The air between them was calm, but heavy with unspoken words. Amara broke the silence first. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said." Chaik leaned forward slightly, waiting. "I believe you're sincere," she continued. "But I need to be honest too. Someone warned me." "Warned you?" Chaik asked carefully. "Yes. They said you only told me you loved me because I have a better job now. That you waited until I had an apartment and a car before speaking." Chaik sat in silence for a moment, the sting sharp in his chest. Then he asked softly, "Do you believe that?" Amara looked down. "I don't want to, but it made me afraid." Chaik reached across the table, his voice steady. "Amara, I've known poverty. I know what it means to be ignored, insulted, and treated like nothing. But with you, you saw me. You treated me like I mattered, even when you had nothing. That's why I fell in love. I didn't confess earlier because I didn't want you to feel pressured. I wanted to be sure of your heart. When I finally spoke, it wasn't because of your promotion. It was because I couldn't hold it inside anymore." Amara's eyes softened, tears threatening to fall. "I don't want your car," Chaik continued. "I don't want your apartment. I just want your heart." For a long time, she stared at him. Then she reached across the table, her hand trembling as it touched his. "Thank you. That's all I needed to hear." Chaik smiled gently. "Even if you still need time, I'll wait. Whether you love me now or later, I'm not going anywhere." Amara's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "Then I'll let my heart speak for itself." The tension in the office slowly began to ease. After their talk at the cafe, Amara and Chaik found themselves back to greeting each other warmly. The awkward distance between them began to fade. Their bond felt lighter again, patient, steady, and genuine. But not everyone was pleased. Ifeoma Okeke, the HR officer who had once whispered poison into Amara's ears, was watching closely. At first, she had dismissed Chaik as just a poor cleaner. But as days passed, she noticed something unusual. Despite his plain clothes and humble duties, He carried himself with a quiet strength that even Tun Baligan, the manager, lacked. His words carried wisdom, his posture confidence. Without asking for it, he commanded respect. And slowly, that began to intrigue her. One afternoon, while Chaik was mopping the reception area, Ifioma walked toward him. Her perfume lingered heavily in the air, her steps deliberate, her smile sharp. "Hi, Chaik," she said sweetly. He looked up, surprised. "Hello. You work too hard," she said, leaning against the wall. "I do what I need to do," he replied calmly. Her eyes sparkled as she tilted her head. "You know, I've been watching you. You're different. Old but handsome. Quiet but smart. Your voice is deep, and you speak with wisdom. Honestly, you're my kind of man." Chaik stood straight, his face still, though his heart was boiling. "You don't even know me." Ifioma giggled. "I know enough, and I like what I see." Chaik's eyes narrowed. His voice was firm. "So, after telling Amara that I'm a gold digger, now you come here saying I'm your type?" Her smile faltered. "Excuse me?" "You told her I was after her money," he said, his words sharp. "You poisoned her mind against me, and now you're here pretending." Ifioma forced a laugh. "Look, maybe I said too much before. That was then. Now I've changed my mind." Chaik chuckled dryly. "You must be very foolish." Her face stiffened. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Chaik repeated, his voice louder. "Very foolish. You think I don't know the kind of woman you are? You shared your bed with half the management staff, including that arrogant fool Tund, and now you think you can come to me?" Her eyes widened in shock, her face flushing red. "I came to you with respect." "No," Chai cut her off. "You came with cheap games. But I'm not one of those hungry men you fooled. Stay far away from me." Her voice shook with fury. "You think you're better than me? You think you're somebody?" Chaik's eyes locked on hers, steady and unyielding. "I know exactly who I am. The problem is, you don't know who I am yet." Ifioma scoffed, rolling her eyes. "I wanted to manage you. I wanted to help your miserable life. But now I see you're nothing but a proud fool." Chaik smirked. "And I'd rather mop floors with dignity than sleep around for attention. Don't ever come near me again." With that, she stormed off, her heels clattering angrily against the floor, her pride shattered. Chaik sighed deeply, then bent down and continued mopping as if nothing had happened. By evening, whispers had already spread through the building. Amara found Chaik cleaning the conference hallway. "You look tired," she said softly. Chaik smiled faintly. "I've had an interesting day." She raised a brow. "Care to tell me?" He chuckled. "Let's just say, someone who once called me a gold digger tried to love me today." Amara's eyes widened. "Ifioma." Chaik nodded calmly. "And what did you say?" she asked, her lips curving slightly. "I told her exactly what she needed to hear." Amara let out a laugh, shaking her head. "She deserved it. She walks around this office like she owns everyone." "Well, not this one," Chaik said firmly. "She couldn't even afford my respect." They both laughed quietly together. For a moment, all the confusion and doubt melted away. The air between them felt pure again, like trust being rebuilt, one truth at a time. It was another busy Thursday morning at Bright Tech Industries. Workers moved briskly in and out of the building, their chatter filling the air. At the front gate, a young woman clutched a brown envelope containing her certificates. Nervous but hopeful, she had come for a job interview after weeks of searching without success. Inside, she was ushered into the manager's office and asked to wait. A few minutes later, Tund Baligan walked in, his usual smug smile plastered across his face. He glanced briefly at her file, then leaned back in his chair. "You're very beautiful," he said slowly. "Thank you, sir," she replied softly. Tund's smile widened. "I can give you this job, but first you'll have to do something for me." She frowned. "Sir, you heard me," Tund said, leaning forward. "If you want this job, you'll spend the night with me. After that, everything will be easy. I'll give you the best position." Her heart sank. "No, sir. I can't do that." Tund's expression hardened instantly. "Then get out of my office. You're not ready for anything in life." She grabbed her envelope and rushed out, tears stinging her eyes. Outside, she stopped under the hot sun, wiping her face in disbelief. Just when she thought her luck had changed, she had stumbled upon another wolf in a suit. At that very moment, Chike, carrying a bucket, passed by. He noticed her distress and paused. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She quickly wiped her tears. "Yes, I'm fine." "No, you're not," Chike said, his eyes narrowing. "Tell me what happened." Hesitating, she finally explained everything. How Tund had demanded her body in exchange for a job, and how she had refused. Chike's chest tightened with anger, his eyes darkening. This is not the first time, he thought bitterly. Looking at her directly, he said, "Come back next week, Tuesday. Bring your documents again. If you're qualified, you'll get the job." The young woman blinked in confusion. "What? How can a cleaner say that?" Chike gave a faint smile. "Sometimes, the one you ignore is the one who can help you the most." She looked at him skeptically, then shook her head as she walked away. How can a man in faded slippers talk like a hero? He must think I'm a fool. What she didn't know was that the cleaner who offered her hope was no ordinary man. Meanwhile, days passed, and Amara's heart grew heavier. She tried to brush away her doubts, to silence the voice of suspicion planted by Ifioma. But every time she saw Chike, her heart raced. Every time he spoke, her spirit calmed. She couldn't deny the bond forming between them. By Friday afternoon, most of the workers had left for the weekend. The building was quiet, the sun lowering in the sky. Chike sat alone in the back courtyard, wiping sweat from his brow after cleaning the lobby. Amara walked slowly toward him, her steps hesitant but her heart determined. "Chike," she called softly. He looked up, smiling faintly. "Amara, you're still here." She sat beside him, her hands trembling. For a moment, she struggled to speak, then the words tumbled out. "I love you." Chike froze, his breath catching. "I've tried to hide it," Amara continued, her voice shaky. "But I can't anymore. I think I've loved you from the first day I saw you. I just didn't want to rush and seem cheap. When Ifioma told me bad things about you, I almost believed her. She said you only wanted my success. But thank God I listened to my heart instead. You've proven to me that true love still exists." Tears filled Chike's eyes as he reached for her hand. "Amara, I love you too. I've waited so long to hear these words. You have no idea how happy you've made me." She smiled, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I can't wait to make you my wife," Chike whispered. Amara blushed, her heart full. "And I can't wait to be yours." The next morning, Bright Tech buzzed with tension. A sudden announcement had summoned all staff to an emergency general meeting in the Grand Conference Hall. No one knew what was happening. At the front of the hall, standing confidently by the podium, was a man in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, polished shoes gleaming under the lights. His hair was neatly cut, his posture regal. Many employees whispered in confusion. "Who is that? Where's the cleaner?" From the side, Tun Baligan sneered. "Whoever this joker is, he better hurry. We don't have time for her." His voice trailed off as the man reached up and removed his sunglasses. Gasps filled the hall. It was Chike Obi. For months, they had seen him pushing mops and buckets. But now, in his true form, he radiated authority and elegance. The large screen lit up with Bright Tech's logo, followed by a commanding voiceover. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mr. Chike Obi, the owner and founder of Bright Tech Industries." The room erupted. Some people clutched their mouths, others dropped their files in shock. Chike's voice carried across the hall, firm yet calm. "Yes, I am Chike Obi, and for months I have been among you in disguise, working as a cleaner. I wanted to see how people treat others when they believe you have nothing, to know who truly respects humanity and who only respects power." He turned sharply toward Tund, who had turned pale, sweat beading on his forehead. "Mr. Baligan, your reign of arrogance ends today. You harassed staff, demanded bribes, exploited applicants, and abused your position. Effective immediately, you are fired." Security advanced quickly. Tund stuttered, No, this can't be happening." "You can't." But the guards seized him, dragging him out as his desperate cries echoed behind him. Silence fell once more. Chike took a deep breath and turned to the crowd. His eyes softened as they settled on one face. "There is one person here," he said, his voice warm, "who treated me with dignity even when I appear to have nothing. Someone who gave me kindness, food, and respect. Amar Nwosu, Please, come forward. Amara's knees trembled as she walked toward him. The man she thought was just a cleaner now stood before her, powerful, refined, and real. Chike reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box, and dropped to one knee in his elegant suit. Amara Nwosu, he said, his voice full of emotion, will you marry me? Tears streamed down Amara's cheeks. Her lips quivered as the hall held its breath. Yes, she whispered through sobs. Yes, I will. The hall erupted with cheers, applause, and even tears. Chike slipped the ring onto her finger, stood, and embraced her. In that moment, Amara realized the truth. The man she had loved for his humility was in fact a billionaire who chose to hide his crown, only to find the woman who would wear it with him. Months later, Lagos buzzed with excitement. Bright Tech's conference hall had been transformed into a stunning wedding venue. Gold drapes flowed from the ceiling, fresh white flowers lined the aisles, and the soft sounds of a live band filled the air. Guests in colorful asoebi outfits filled the seats, whispering in anticipation. At the altar stood Chike Obi, dressed in a perfectly tailored white tuxedo with black lapels. His posture was regal, but his eyes betrayed only one emotion: love. The music swelled as the doors opened. Amara Nwosu entered, radiant in a flowing white lace gown, her veil glittering under the lights. Every step she took was slow, graceful, and filled with meaning. Tears glistened in her eyes, but her smile never wavered. The crowd gasped and applauded softly. Many whispered in awe, "That's her, the one who loved him when he was just a cleaner. She deserves this." This is the kind of story you only hear in fairy tales. As Amara reached the altar, Chike extended his hand. She placed hers into his, and he squeezed it gently. When the pastor asked for vows, Chike's voice trembled slightly with emotion. "Amara, when I met you, I had nothing, or so you thought. But you saw me, not the broom I carried. You gave me kindness when the world ignored me. Today, I give you my heart, my life, and everything I am. I will honor you for as long as I breathe." Amara's tears spilled freely as she spoke. "Chike, you showed me that true love is not in riches or status, but in the heart. You could have revealed who you were from the start, but instead, you chose humility. And in that humility, I found the man I love. I will walk with you in wealth or in want, in strength or in weakness for the rest of my life." The pastor blessed them, and cheers erupted as they sealed their vows with a kiss. Weeks later, magazines and TV shows carried the story everywhere. The billionaire who disguised himself as a cleaner and found true love. People across Nigeria and beyond spoke of it, a tale that would be remembered for years. Together, Chike and Amara ran Bright Tech side by side. He managed the empire with wisdom. She infused it with compassion. Employees found themselves in a new environment where kindness and dignity became the culture. At home, they lived simply, cherishing each other's presence. Chike never stopped remembering the girl who had shared her food with a cleaner, and Amara never stopped remembering the man who had protected her before she knew his name. They had found what both had always longed for: love that wasn't bought, love that wasn't forced, but love that was true. And so, in the heart of Lagos, under the bright lights of a city that never sleeps, Chike Obi and Amara Nwosu lived happily ever after.